Hey, you guys, good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. So good to see you guys. Jared, Amy. Okay, you guys, Yvette. It's Martin. So, yeah, I bet you guys are all having various different temperatures going on there. California's probably about 50s here. So we're not doing too bad here. But I feel for you guys. I've lived in those cold climates. I went to high school and college in Vermont. 40 below was not unusual. Anyway, so listen, we're going to have some fun going through your photos. I love doing this with you guys, seeing your work and hearing your stories. Let's make sure that if that's Jared, he might be pinging me. No, Jared, you're there. So you're in the green room. Okay, well, we better get you out of the green room. So there we go. Remove from the green. Now we can hear you,
there
right?
we go.
We got that early and we fixed it fast. I thought we already had that figured out.
I thought so too. It's great to be here. Our favorite show that we do here.
Exactly. Well, let's get this party started. So, okay, you guys, you know who I am, but if you don't know who I am, I'm Marc Silber. I'm an author, photographer, and educator in Carmel, California. And our show is brought to you by our friends at Bay Photo Lab. I love these guys, and they are giving you some discounts here. 20% off on prints and mounting. Okay, well, there you go. You get 20% off, even if you've ordered from them before. Thin wraps are still 20% off. And this is the last day, I believe, of their drum scanning 20% off special. You know, I'm going to talk about one of my photos here in a minute that was scanned. And it's important if you got negatives to digitize them, because then you can use them for different things. So head on over to Bay Photo, get some prints made. You know how important that is and how much I advocate that. So please take advantage of that. Okay, now, a story.
I think before we go forward,
well, we better tell
turn
them.
your gain down a little bit as well, and people ought to subscribe.
I don't know why the little video isn't playing, but for some reason
weird.
It's gotten itself disconnected. Let's see why we can just fix that real fast. It says subscribe is there, but anyway, I'll just tell you verbally, the video isn't working for some reason. This is some gremlin got in there. But make sure you guys subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. By the way, there's going to be some new shows in our next season that are going to be a lot of fun. Coming up. A little preview. We'll be doing, I'm going to be going back to my roots. I started my video career with a photo walk with a big blogger, and that launched me into this whole video thing. I'm going to go back to that. We're going to do photo walks. You know, you've seen me kind of do that from time to time, but I'm going to make it a point of inviting different photographers to go out and shoot, not just sit and talk. Now that things are opening up again and we can get out, this spring you're going to see some photo walks. Well, this series that I'm going to talk about comes from a photo walk. So I just recently shot, as I told you, we're reshooting, expanding the Advancing Your Photography course. And this is a series I took in a location called Point Lobos. This picture I captured in the mid-'60s. That's a long time ago. And I was using a camera that I had just gotten for Christmas called a Plabel Machina. Plabel Machina is I'll just show you it's a 2.25 by 3.25 negative. So it's about like that. Pretty big negative. Very cool camera. I wish I still had it. But anyway, we went to Point Lobos, and I saw this image and captured it. You can see a lot of grain in there. I was using, I don't know what it was exactly. It might have a note. Very grainy negative, so I might have been using Tri-X for some reason. But anyway, I was a teen, and I keep going back there for different reasons and capturing photographs over the years, and sometimes it changes. This was 2019. So same tree. The tree actually got a little beaten down since then, but there it is. 1965, 2019. Jared was on that shoot. I like this one. I mean, you have different preferences. I love the moody sky here. It's framed differently. You can see this is landscape. There's portrait framing. You change things up. But there's a big value to going back to the same location and shooting it over and over again. This is from last week or so, 10 days ago. The sky isn't very dramatic, so I'm not crazy about this one. Blue skies are not the best to photograph in, but, I just had to photograph it anyway, and this is a different version of it. Again, blue skies. So my favorite is this one. My second favorite is this one, just because I was a youngster when I shot this. But remember what Florian Schultz said is, go back to the locations over and over and over again, and you're always going to find something new and different. This is, if you were on my AYP Plus class, we were talking about Edward Weston, who lived across the highway from here, and he went here constantly photographing. He knew Point Lobos. It was like after a while, when you photograph somewhere, you really know what to expect. So don't forget those places that are really close by, and keep going back. Okay. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I will tell you one little side point. After I captured this photograph as a kid, somebody, I remember turning around, taking this photograph, and some guy walked up to me and said, "Oh, Edward Weston took that photograph." And the way he said it to me made me kind of think, dude, that's not an original photograph. This guy has already taken it. And I was pretty bummed out about that, because I thought I had just found this unique view. Well, the funny thing is, I've seen a lot of Edward Weston's photographs, and I haven't seen this one. And it doesn't matter. I could get explicative about this because, it's really a kind of a nasty thing to do to a creative person, to come up to them and say, "Oh, dude, somebody else has already done that." You know what I mean? So if that has ever happened to you, jettison it. Because the thing is, you have your own unique viewpoint. You have your own vision. You have your own way of capturing it. No scene is ever the same. It really isn't. The way you point your camera and the way you decide all the different things that go into a visualization is uniquely yours. Just remember that. It's super important. And speaking of uniquely yours, let's start looking at your work here. Okay? So here we go. Jared, what's the story?
All right.
I love this.
And before we dive into this, I'll just let you know, and while I'm doing that, maybe you could turn your gain down just a little bit.
Really? I'm a little
just
too
a little hot.
Okay, I'll just move the camera.
And while you're doing that, the best way to get your photos in, the way to get them in, is to submit your photos in the AYP. I'm putting a link. It is in the chat. It's also in the description, and you can find that, join, and submit your photos. I will be keeping an eye on people who are requesting to join and approving, so it is not too late.
Not
Anyways,
too late,
let's begin.
for sure.
Not at all.
All right.
So this is a photo by Antonio. This was a long exposure.
Yes.
He had a friend take him, invited to take photos at a lake, and then when they arrived, the lake was pretty dirty and there wasn't much to photograph. So I saw these two logs in the shore, and I decided to put them in the water to take the photo and make something out of nothing.
You did a great job. If those logs weren't there, it wouldn't be much of a photograph. You're right. I mean, they are the punctuation point. They give dimension. That's the thing about a punctuation point. And again, don't think that, this is now a new rule, Mark's got, you gotta always have a punctuation point. But in this case, it really wouldn't be much of a photograph without it because it gives it dimension. And dimension is one of the cool things that we're trying to achieve with a two-dimensional surface. We're trying to achieve the vision of a space, which is three-dimensional. How do you do that? It's kind of a trick, isn't it? Well, one of the ways you do that is you have a foreground and you have a background, and this actually has three layers. It has the foreground of the logs, the background of the edge of the lake, and the clouds are the far foreground, the far background rather. And the fact that you took a long exposure with the wind surfacing, smoothing out that, making it look like ice almost, that works really well. So bravo on finding the image where it seemed like there was none. That gives you extra bonus points. Good job. And
right.
Spanish Institute, good to see you too. And back of me. Thank you. And Stephen from Prescott. Okay, great to see you guys. Thanks for
Wayne
joining
from
us.
Illinois, I saw you're here too. Good
Yeah,
to see
and
you.
Sandy. Oh, Sahid, I'm sorry. There we go. Sahid. Maybe Sandy will join us too. All right, who's next?
All right, let's do this one. This is from Ed. Professional jet ski team demonstrating at a local fundraiser yielded a ton of photographic opportunities.
Whoa.
This is one of my images from the resulting project. And then he goes on to discuss some of the tech and processing that he went with it. So you can put on AYP Club.
That's a cliffhanger. I mean, is this guy going to end up on his head? I think not, just because if he's a pro, you can sort of see just by the arc of the wave that's left behind him that he is turning, but it looks like he's just going to do a head plant. I mean, basically, which would not be cool with a big jet ski on top of you. So this guy presumably controlled it. That's a really awesome photograph. I mean, as far as capturing the moment, that's amazing. And black and white, I really like it because it just kind of keeps you just looking at the image without any other thought of colors or whatever. You get the idea of the silvery bottom of that jet ski, but the rest of it's just almost like pure design. So that works really well. Good job.
All right. Here's one. This is from Kevin, and he just joined AYP Club. And this is his first image that he's sharing. No comment with it, but I do know that he's in the comments. So if he wants to add anything extra, any kind of caption or other comments, he can do that there.
I'd be curious what camera you used. Did you use an iPhone? I mean, you're all dressed up in a business suit and fancy shoes that are getting polished. Maybe you're walking around with a camera as well. I love the point of view here. I mean, that's really cool. It's from your point of view. There's no other point of view unless you just this. The only other way you could capture this is like hang your camera over somebody's shoulders, and I'm sure you didn't do that. So we're getting the point of you getting your shoes shined, and it's a really cool photograph. I love that it's black and white also, because it is pretty timeless. Those shoes could be any time from probably the 30s or 40s forward. The only little thing that gives it away, if you look really closely, this guy's got a name tag on. Other than that, it could be anywhere in the last 70 years, let's say. Traveling for business. Oh, let's put it up here. This is the story from Kevin. Traveling for business before the pandemic, decided to get a shoe shine while sitting there watching Sam do his work. I decided to take a picture. Oh, you had your Nikon with you with a 10 millimeter lens. Okay. So you had your camera right there with you. Good job. Great on capturing that, bringing your camera with you on your business trip. Don't forget, if you don't have a camera, you can't photograph. So carry a camera with you wherever you go. I mean, that's my go-to is the iPhone, but if you want to bring a real camera, although iPhones are pretty amazing these days. Just as a side note, we're shooting, this course, and I had to shoot some B-roll for it, auxiliary footage, and I thought, hey, what do you know? I can turn my iPhone and I can make it a 4K video recording, because we shoot everything in 4K, and I just shoot it with the iPhone. It's like, what? So easy. I don't shoot my main footage that way, but all the auxiliary footage, it's so much easier just to go around with an iPhone on a tripod. Just as a note, and I see that Samsung's got an 8K. Wow, I don't even know what you do with that. But someday we'll have 1000K or something, or Giga K or something, Tera K, and it'll just be this whole concept will be a thing of the past. It'll be, the resolution is so high it looks better than it does in real life. Anyway, good job. Let's move on to who's next. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Our next one is Mache. This photo was taken in 2019 for a friend who is a personal trainer. The idea was to show how to exercise correctly. In break time, I took a few shots more for myself in his own personal style. I wanted to ask this question. Do you like it? What do you feel when you're looking at it?
Thank you for giving us the whole story. And this is a good illustration of what Chris Burkhardt calls moments in between. And he said those can be the most powerful because the person isn't on. You know what I mean? They don't think they're being photographed. They're not thinking about the camera at all. And you captured a moment in between. A moment before, he might have, been looking at you or looking into the mirror or something, and it's a very different image. I definitely get an emotion from this, whether he's tired or perhaps a little bit, physically or mentally fatigued. That's the emotion I get. But I love the reflection in the mirror, so we're kind of getting two views of this guy. You processed it in an interesting way. It looks like you just pulled down the saturation. So things are a bit muted, I'm guessing. I mean, that's the way it looks to me. But yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I mean, the symmetry between the guy, we're seeing him very symmetrical in the shot. And we've got him in the foreground, we've got him in the background. That's cool. I love reflections. I think they're really make an interesting way of looking at things. And then you've got multiple frames. You've got at least two frames, the foreground frame and the background frame, which is the mirror. So those are all really powerful composition tools to help tell your story. Good job. Okay.
All right. This hard work making hard body.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true.
That's a good one.
Here's one from Eric, and this is now showing nothing. And he took this one with a Sony A99.
It's very simple. It's geometry. Essentially, what we're looking at is a whole bunch of geometrical forms, which is always interesting. You've got the rectangles, you've got curves, and the curve of the sign, which is interesting. It's a cool shot, and to me it would be part of what Dan Milner calls either we call it an insert shot. Let's say you have a spread and you're photographing this town, and you just have an insert, and it's about that size. It's small. It's not like big on the page. And it's a transitional shot too. So I see that as part of a story, of your town or this town that you're photographing, and you got a very clean, clear view. It's also sign of the times, because notice there's nothing on the marquee. Nobody's showing movies, right? So that's kind of like, it could be a closed theater, but The sign itself makes me think that it's not, because it's not all burnt out. It appears to be working, but there's nothing on the marquee, which is kind of a 2020, 2021 story here that you're.
To add a little bit of context, this was shared as a post that he originally shared on his personal wall back in March 22nd of 2020. So right when all the shutdowns were happening. So this would have been very soon after that, and there really were no new movies coming out at
Nothing
all.
on the marquee, which is, sad sign of the times. Okay, good. Who's next?
Yeah. All right, this one from Saad. Railway station, Mosul City, Iraq. This is from my project about Mosul City and life of the people after the war.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, broken down train. There's a guy over here. So you have your punctuation point over there. And you've got, you got your leading lines. I mean, there's something not quite connecting for me on this, and I see all the elements, but somehow they don't quite come together. I see the guy looking at the trains, and I see the lines, but there needs to be some connection here. I'm just giving you that's my immediate thought. Maybe the guy walks over and does something with the train, or maybe you do a point of view shot of looking over his shoulder. Something that could connect the dots a little bit. I think you've got all the elements there. I don't see the story yet. Like, is the story that we have broken trains? Is the story that this guy, was somehow connected to this? I don't know, but there's some way of connecting those dots, and I think it's just keep photographing until it all kind of comes together. I like the idea of maybe going behind him and then seeing it kind of from his point of view over the shoulder. Yeah, the guy could be more prominent in the frame. There's just something that would make it, but you've got the stage set. It's just a matter of moving around, and maybe you did. Something, just something a little like, again, connect those dots. But thanks for sending this, and you're on the right track. And a lot of times it really is, that is the thing, of just you see all the elements for a photograph, and it's just a matter of waiting until it all connects. It's just being patient enough to see, or moving around, take a different viewpoint until it all kind of, the glue comes together, and there it is.
And especially since it's part of a project, sequencing and like when
exactly
you put this in the project will probably also have a huge influence. So with other photos that you have, then that element will feel there, and it'll feel like it belongs.
That's right.
So
okay, Jared, we're on the right track. Absolutely, good job. Okay, who's next?
All right, we're gonna take a look at Wayne's. Did a couple self-portraits because why not? Just playing with some natural lighting.
Hey, it's not just Amy who does selfies around here. We don't call them selfies though. We call them self-portraits. Okay, Wayne, let's see what these look like.
So let's take a look at the two. So we've got this one. We've got this one. So playing around with natural lighting.
Very different.
And just getting some practice.
It could be two different dudes. I mean, you really changed your look up so much that, let's see the other one again. I like what you're doing here. This would be my preference. Just the only thing in the first one, I feel like that foot is a little bit like in the first one. Go back to that first. A little too prominent. That's putting your foot forward. Nothing wrong with that. I just prefer the other one because I feel like my eye just goes to that foot more than your face. The other one is more balanced, so I don't feel like either of the feet are drawing my attention. I feel like I'm looking at you. That's just like my only little point. I just prefer to see it in balance. But anyway, I like what you're doing here. And the project, that sounds like a great project. Please keep it going. Let's keep seeing these different versions of you. I've never done this. You gave me an idea there. Why not? Hey, you guys, we've got closets full of clothes. We can all change the way we look. You go from a jean jacket to a sport coat and a different hat. Things change all over the place. Take the glasses off, put the glasses on. That's cool. So, good job. Keep it going.
All right. Speaking of... Oh, let me find it here. I'll do another one first. Here's one. This is from Bert. Finally, opening game. Because there's been a lot of cold, so games had to be delayed, and the last season was canceled. So it's nice to see that Bert's able to get back out there and get some sports photos again. I know that he's been really wanting to get back at it.
Yeah, good job. Well done, and that's perfectly timed. Look what's going to happen here a split second later. That sure looks like he's connecting with it. Wow, that's a low ball too, isn't it? He had to really, think that, be ready to respond very quickly. That looked like a good hit. I'd be curious to hear where that ended up. But that's a great action shot. The ump is right there, the umpire, the catcher. For those of you who are not familiar with American baseball, there's three people there. There's the batter, there's the catcher behind him, kind of scrunched down, and the umpire is the guy that says whether that, is in or out. I mean, not really in or out, but there's various different places it could be. That could be a ball, could be a strike, and he's checking it right out there. So that's pretty cool. And it's opening day, which is well done. Oh, then the guy in the outfield, straight out, yeah, that's pretty cool. There's you go, look where that ball is going to end up. It might end up in his glove.
And he's not blocked by the bat either, which is nice.
Yeah, you got that perfectly timed. But I'd be really interested to hear how this swing ended up. It looks like it's going to connect, and it looks like it's going to be a really high ball, and it's probably caught, unfortunately. But I'd like to hear if Bert's on the call.
I don't believe he is. I think he's teaching at the moment because he's a teacher.
That's right. He is a teacher.
So.
Anyway, well done on that one. Good job.
All right. Going back to our self-portraits, we, of course, have
I know who this is.
Amy self. I can't hear you. And she says this is self-portrait number 4 million. But yet, I've never tired of seeing your self-portraits, even if this is the 4th million one, because they're all so different. And once again, you have a great brand.
Yeah, that's an in-joke from our last AYP Plus class. I was talking about Edward Weston. And one of the things we learned from his grandson is he named his photographs in a series because he took these series of photographs. One of them was his very famous pepper photograph. He took 37 different versions. So he called it P1, P2, P3, etc. And then his nudes, same thing. N1, N whatever. So here's Amy. So S 1 million for self-portrait. And, listen, they're always intriguing. I don't know anybody who can get the sort of the I don't know if it's whimsical, but there's, it's like you're playing around with your own face. I love what's happening to your eye there. The shading and the flower kind of like creating the shaded area, but then there's your eye popping through. So yes, it is your brand for sure. Good job, Amy.
All right. our next one here. This is photo John Morgan. Last week we took a look at one of his. It was the wicker basket light one, and this is another one in that series of light sources. Granted, this is a shadow, but it was interesting to me. This is a window in my son's room, and wanted
Oh,
to know
now I
what you
see it.
think. So this is part of that lighting series that he's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I see, again, I would see this as like a an insert or a transitional shot as part of your series. It's it's interesting. You've got light hitting the floor here, the carpet with the window frame. Yeah, it's an interesting texture and design shot. That again, I would see that as part of a series. Okay, good one.
All right, this one. This is from John, and this one's called All Ashore.
It looks like it's getting blown ashore there. That's a windy place. That looks like Florida to me. I don't know if it is, but it sure looks like it. I mean, there's a lot of coastline that could be, but strikes me as Florida. I love the fact that it's black and white. Um, and I'm going to give you more or less the same similar comment on the as I did with Saeed on the train. I feel like you've got the stage set, but we don't quite have it. Elements that all come together. I mean, I get that the boat's moving around. I get there's clouds in the sky and the water. I just feel like maybe some slightly different angle, maybe a really low angle on that, where the boat is kind of looming up rather large in the frame with the water. I'm just giving you what my thoughts would be. So just keep moving around and take a lot, capture a lot of images. And then you get back to your studio and you look at them on the screen. You go, wow, that's the one right there. So, again, we see all these elements. They don't always just jump out. You gotta work it. Camille Seaman made a really good point about this. Fantastic landscape photographer. She said it's like choreography. There's forms and there's shapes. She was talking about photographing landscapes. There's forms and shapes, and you move around like you're doing choreography until those forms and shapes come together. Cartier-Bresson said something along those same lines. It's about that moment when everything comes together. So you're there. Just keep working it. There you go.
All right. This is a series, and I kind of wanted to take a look at the series itself. So this is from Martin. Went along with two ice fishermen last Thursday. First real story I pitched and was lucky enough to get immediate access. The ongoing project aims at understanding the Estonian food industry and how goods end up in the store, humanizing the whole ordeal, if you will. So
that's cool. Hang on, let me see that first shot.
Yeah, we'll go through these. So
I love the light on the coming through and the steam. It's a really cool action shot because we're getting wow, that's cold water, but the light is really what makes this pop for me. That's streaming down over the sled onto his boots. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah. I like this one. It's just simple. Here's a guy standing right in the middle of the frame, dead center, basically, all white, some blues. Very simple shot. Yeah, wow. That's an old rig, it looks like. Okay. I've never done any ice fishing. I like this one too. The backlighting is always a cool thing. And good job.
I think this might be the last one. We'll see.
Okay, you got some.
That was the last one.
Good ones out of that.
So that's the series in this part of the project.
By the way, let me just do a little informal survey with you guys. So we are conducting a survey in our AYP Plus community, but it's also open to you guys. Jared, maybe you could give them the link. If you guys
Yeah,
are
I'll pull
not
that up.
part of the AYP Plus community, please take this survey anyway. Because what I try to do is I really want my finger on the pulse of what is most interesting to you guys at any given time. So the number one thing that's come up so far, we're not done with the survey, but so far is lighting. And I'm getting various different feedback. Well, no wonder. What does photography mean? Writing, photo means light, ography means writing. Photography is writing with light. You know, if you're an author, if you're a writer, you write with a pen or a keyboard. If you're a musician, you essentially write with music. You know, as photographers, we're writing with light. So number one thing, one of the things I'm considering, so I have a number of people I've interviewed over the years that are just fantastic with lighting. Fletch Murray, Peter Hurley, Joshua, okay, blank, okay.
I know what you're talking about, Mike.
Felix Coons, you know, some of these guys, Joe McNally, just all-star lighting people. I'm considering making March a lighting month and just having every class about lighting, you know. I'd be curious, what do you guys think about that idea? You know, there's some benefits to that because we really just concentrate on one thing. And, you know, for that month, we're just going to talk about lighting. And you guys can then also add your photographs into, you know, the critique show that have to do essentially with lighting. I mean, every photograph has something to do with lighting, but what do you guys think? Informal survey. Would that be of interest to you to just take March and really have every class on lighting? Curious what you think. I think it's a good idea, but I want to hear from you. Okay, so Jared, who's next?
All right, our next one. This is. Let me get it pulled up. Our next one. This is from Paulo, and this is wintertime on a sunny day.
Yeah, so we've got, you know, obviously the snow there and the tracks in the snow and this girl looking at this arch. A lot of geometry. Geometry always works. Light it up. Yes. Sounds like Rami. Yes, lighting month would be interesting. Adds fun.
A lot of people like it.
So far, you guys like it, so that's cool. I think it's a good idea. I have to make sure I can line up all these people, but I probably can if I give them, you know, the choice of 4 different dates. I think it's a cool idea. I mean, who knows? Lighting is such a key element, obviously. It could obviously go on for months and months, but I think we could do it for 4 weeks, and that would be pretty cool. Okay, so this is about lighting. We've got a big split in the screen, you know, between what's in shade and what's lit, and the archway with the pillars. That makes it very interesting, and it works really well as a black and white. And you have a leading set of lines with those tire tracks leading to your subject. Actually, 2 sets of them. If you look at it, the one on the right and the one on the left, and she's more or less, she's close to where they intersect. That helps identify our subject. So good job. Well, so far you guys think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Who else do we need to ask? But I think that's a cool idea. I
guess we have to ask the people who we want to have on the.
We have to ask those guys, but they're usually pretty, you know.
Oh, they love talking.
They love being on the show with you guys. And each one of them brings a different element. So, you know, you have Fletch Murray. He is a still photographer, but he's also lights for videography. But you can obviously do both. You have, you know, Felix Coons, who does natural light and artificial. You know, most of these guys go back and forth. Peter Hurley is a lot about studio lighting. And we can learn from any of them and all of them. So I think it could be a really cool thing to do. Okay, cool. We'll let you know soon. All right, Jared, who's next?
All right, next we have Christoph. This is from Snowdonia, UK, tallest mountain in the UK. I've been waiting for the moment when the clouds cleared up to capture the peak.
Yeah, and what's really interesting to me is what looks like the three people standing. Yeah, are those three people? It looks like, right?
Yep, looks like that to me.
You know, it's funny. I was like putting together stuff for this class, right, that we're making, and I noticed that most of my photographs have people in them. I do have I do have some with no people in them, for sure. But the ones I'm mostly interested in are the ones that have people, and I think it's just because people are interesting. I mean, mountains are interesting, but I think people plus the mountain is even more interesting. So that's what I love about this is that little tiny people, big mountain. You know, you get the scale. It's I mean, this is not one of the highest peaks in the world. It's in the UK. I'm guessing it's about 1,000 meters, something like that, whatever. But it's a mountain, and it's relative. You know, mountains are relative to their environment. You know, so this is a peak with a lot of weather going around on the top of it. But the three people make it where my eye just goes right to them. So that's a good job.
All right. This is from Kevin Barrett, and I don't believe that you put any specific information on how you captured this or if you did any editing to it, but I would love to hear more. I think it's just a February morning in Lowell, Michigan. But
It's morning light for sure, and it's interesting how soft it's. Very soft. It's warm light. Against the very blue, what would be a really blue sky later in the day. Yeah. And the white snow. So it's very warm. Our eyes love warm photographs. I mean, there's no question about it. And you've got that sun right below those branches. Good job there on the, positioning yourself, kind of moving around. Okay, right there. And it's like a beautiful still life. It's a beautiful landscape, framed obviously really well with the branches. It's a picture of your winter. Good job.
all right, here's one. This is from Yvette. I love clouds because they're always changing. There's a small spot where you can see plain dirt window. I want to clear it, but I kind of also like it.
Small spot when you can do what now?
I think she's saying like there's a couple of these spots where you can see like that
Okay.
there's
Okay.
dirt from the plane window because obviously this is from a plane.
Yeah, I get it.
But she says that she wants to get rid of it, but also kind of likes it.
Yeah, leave them. They're
Adding some
not
texture.
sensor spots, so they have a different look than sensor spots. But that's cool. Yeah, I love clouds too. They're amazing. You can take portraits of clouds, and that's what you've done. Is you've taken a portrait of a cloud. Again, Camille Seaman gave us that concept of portraiture doesn't just mean of a person. Portraits can be obviously of an animal, but they can be of natural things as well. A tree, you can take a portrait of a tree. You could take a portrait of a bridge. Clouds, icebergs. She takes portraits of icebergs. So yes, good job. And yeah, you could get rid of those, but why? There's smudges on the window, basically, and it's from an airplane. So it answers the question. Wow, it's either from an airplane or possibly up in some mountainous region. But now you made it make more sense looking through an airplane window. Good one. Okay, let's take a few more.
Okay. With Yvette, she has a nice little post here that these are photographs taken by her stepfather, who was her first teacher. He is not able to take photographs anymore, though, as he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, thank you for posting his work. I think that's really wonderful of you. And that's, as a note, that's what Edward Weston had as well. That's amazing. Well, go back to that red one. So this is your father-in-law, right? Or stepfather?
Stepfather.
Stepfather. Wow, how did he do that? Red filter over, looks like color photograph with a red filter on it.
It's very striking.
Yeah, that's quite something. And the minarets, it's kind of, the peak there. Very cool. I love the angle, too. I'm a fan of, don't just keep your camera level all the time, turn it. Okay.
Yeah. So
very cool.
It's very nice that
I saw this in our AYP Plus community. So that's good. Thank you for doing that. Keep posting those. Help him out. And I hope he's able to see them and know that we're looking at them. Let him know we're passing along our best wishes to him.
All right. This one from Saba. In another year, this tree would have meant something else, but right now it feels like a natural act of social distancing.
A natural social distance. The frame is really cool. It reminds me of a large format, negative, like a 5x7 negative that would have, the framing like that. Which was my immediate thought when I looked at it. I tend to, when I look at these images, you guys, I just go, what's my first thought? What do I get right away? What's the kind of the flash thing that I get? And then, I'll look at it some more, but that's basically what it looked like to me. It was like, this is sort of what Alfred Stieglitz, he's a pretty significant photographer. You may not recognize the name, but he is the one who mentored and I believe pretty much discovered Ansel Adams. But he also was really significant in our history. Photography was not considered an art form. It was considered something you use. It's a device that you use to just reproduce things. You could see how you could just use cameras as a recording device, not as an art form. So Alfred Stieglitz was the one that said, no, this is an art form. And basically, as I recall, was the Museum of Modern Art, I may have that wrong, where he first started displaying photography. But his whole thing was, I am going to show you an equivalent of what I saw and I felt. This is what I saw and felt, and I'm giving you an equivalent of that. Why an equivalent? Because it's never going to be what you saw and felt exactly. I mean, you're showing me in this image an equivalent of what you saw and felt. And it's something we're always working on. Like, how am I going to present this to you so you see and you feel something I saw and felt? That's kind of the heart and soul of photography. I mean, the story that you saw, the image that captured you, that's... Anyway, all that evoked from your image of the little baby tree growing up basically in COVID time because it's socially distanced. Yeah. Good one.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
Okay.
who's next.
All right. Next, we've got one from Ram.
There's the decisive moment of that drop being freed from the ice. Yep. I see this as an insert or a transitional photograph as part of another story, and it works for that. Say you're out photographing your area, your environment, and here's this cool shot of that moment. It works well in that regard. And black and white makes it really interesting. Shallow depth of field also works really well. Obviously, we're not competing with anything in the background. Good one.
All right. This one is from our friend Robin Mitchell. This is Roxborough State Park in Colorado. These giant rock formations reach as high as 300 feet.
Yeah, I was going to say that's Colorado, and I love the color. The color is what strikes me, and of course the geometry. These are like pyramids, right? They're pyramid-shaped rocks, and that's a geometrical form with the cloud just sort of floating along there, and this the deep blue of the sky. It works really well, and you've processed it. Looks like you've pulled the saturation down, also, and just let it be a little more subtle in terms of the light, which I think is great. So good one. All right, we'll take a few more, and then I gotta get busy doing some
Yeah,
shooting.
we both have to get back to work.
Yeah, this is play
All right.
for us.
Yeah, definitely. This one's from Ellen. San Francisco wheel culture, skateboard, scooters, unicycle, and motorcycle.
Wow, there's all sorts of stuff going on. Okay, yeah, I love the guy's sweatshirt there. I'm not going to repeat it, but I agree. I fully agree. Yeah, that's interesting capturing this culture. It reminds me of I would go surfing with my boys in Santa Cruz, which is about an hour, 20 minutes south of San Francisco on the coast. Anyway, we go surfing and we just laugh at all the forms of transportation that we could see. Guys on skateboards, guys on bicycles, different kinds of bicycles. Yeah, I didn't see any unicycles there, but there were all sorts of variations. I think we just count them up, there'd be like 20 different types of ways of getting around. So this is cool, I don't quite see the shot here though. I mean, you've got something, but it hasn't kind of dialed in for me because there's so many people I could look at, and I'm not sure exactly which one. The guy in the center is kind of the most prominent, but then we got the guys in the background. So something about it, moving around a little bit, maybe a little shallower depth of field, so we know who's our main subject here. It's interesting. Photography is a lot like writing, where in a sentence you would have a subject, right? A clear subject, because if you say they look over there or look at that, what's the subject? Look at what? So rather than saying, see that guy in the blue with the knee protectors on, that's the guy I'm really like focusing on, and these other guys are sort of around him. So there's a bunch of different ways you could do that. You crouch down low, maybe take a photo, a high angle shot looking up at him. The other guys are blurred out. You know what I mean? Those are different tools we use in composition to, just zero in. You could cut the guy on the left, but that isn't necessarily the whole issue. I mean, I kind of frankly, I like his thing, what he's doing. In a way, it's most interesting because he's walking. So maybe he's the star, This is where you got to decide who your subject is. So now that I'm looking at it, I'd say this guy is your subject. He's walking on foot. Everybody else is kind of around some sort of transportation device. So maybe that's the contrast. Here's the guy on foot. Everybody else is like blurred out. I'm just saying these are possible things. You've got the stage set. Just keep shooting until clear-cut subject pops out of the frame. Okay? All right, let's look at one or two more, and then we'll sign off.
All right, we'll do one more, and for anybody who we didn't quite get to, I keep your photos on file, so we'll definitely get to them at our next show.
Rami made a good point. Yes, very clear. Two requirements for a sentence are that it must have a subject and a verb. It can be just two, like Jesus wept. That's right. Subject and a verb. Like, what is that subject doing? That's your verb. And you can't just say ran. that's a verb. He ran. Joe ran. Joe was on a horse. Joe rode on a horse. Subject, verb. Absolutely, and it really is true in photography. You got to have a clear subject, and that's what we work towards. It's not always going to be a verb. I mean, sometimes they're just sitting there, but I mean, it's a verb of some sort, of being. It could be a state of being, which is a verb. But anyway, we're getting in a little more probably than we need to, but just keep that subject really clear. Okay, so speaking of subject, there's this cute little girl looking into the camera. Yeah. Not quite looking at the camera, actually. It's just a cute story. And the mom, or the tender, it might be just the pony tender, probably, rather than a mom. Maybe it is the mom, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, taking this cute girl for a pony ride. And there's a lot going on, there's the feet of the mom / pony tender, the foot of the pony being raised. This little girl who's so small, there's just no way she's going to have her feet where those stirrups are. And the saddle's really big. It's a really cute image. And has a lot of, spontaneity and life to it. There's a feeling of motion because of the feet being raised in the image.
Yeah, and this one's by Steven, our friend who we all know as a zoologist photographer. He loves going to zoos.
You still got animals.
He's been branching out into a couple different areas, and this was actually a sports event. It was a pole and barrel racing event. But this was one of the women that were participating. Her older sister was in it, so this was her having her chance to be like her sister.
Brings back a memory. I once won a amateur rodeo in Wyoming.
Really?
Yeah, how about that?
Nice.
Yeah, and it was barrel racing is one of the things you enter. I was feeling this was some years ago, I grew up around horses, so I've always been fairly comfortable with them. But anyway, you just go as fast as you can, but you can't miss. You can't miss these things. Anyway, that's really cute. Good one, Stephen. Good job. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us today.
Yeah. Okay, good. So good job, you guys. Hope you got some takeaways, and everything I say is constructive. I try to give you what I feel could improve if that's needed. And I'd love to have you guys all join us in AYP Plus, because we do weekly classes. And as you heard, we're probably going to do the month of March on lighting. I think that's a great idea. So let's see. I can't seem to get my button going there. I don't know why, but anyway, if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so and enable the bell. And Jared, we're going to give away AYP month, right?
Of AYP, yes.
AYP Plus. And who is the lucky person?
Our lucky person this week is Ellen.
Hey.
So congratulations, Ellen. I'll be sending you a message on Facebook on how you can claim your free month of AYP Plus. And we'll be excited to see you joining us live if you can. If not, we really hope that you enjoy the classes.
Yes. Okay, good. So thank you guys for joining us. And yes, we enjoy doing this show a lot. Tell your friends, bring more people to the show. That would be awesome. And,
we should probably give a heads up. We're not going to have one
that's
this
right.
next week.
I'm going to be in Lake Tahoe next week. We're taking a little breather. I'm actually going to do some snowboarding. I haven't been on a snowboard in a while, but I got pretty good at it at one point. I got kids that made sure that Dad transitioned from skiing a long time ago into snowboarding, so I kind of got the feel for it. I hope I don't bail too many times, but I'll take some video footage of that and get some photographs. But so next week we're going to take a breather, but we'll see you guys the following week. Thanks for the reminder, Jared. And listen, that's about it. I love to see you guys keep photographing, keep shooting, keep capturing your subject, keep telling your stories. And say it with me. Remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Take care, you guys. See you soon.